Fortunately, lots of models are available to help us see the future. Most of them have been covered in your earlier classes, but here are a couple of my favorites. At 3M, the strategic planning group for the company works on defining a set of mega trends. These big picture changes might impact one or more business units. For example, changing healthcare is a simple label, covering a lot of specific changes underway or coming, particularly in the United States. Obviously, this will impact the healthcare businesses of 3M, but can create opportunity or risk for other businesses as well. Some of the changes create opportunity for the electronics business, for example. And the overall changes will impact HR policies in the U.S., where health insurance is provided for tens of thousands of workers. Any business could do the same thing, and it might look something like this list. Often, these are easy to see coming, but how to respond is much less clear. That is the value of thinking early about these trends. Another of my favorite frameworks is the hype cycle, as articulated by the consulting group Gartner Incorporated. It is based on the observation that the hype around a major new technology usually exceeds the reality. Think about the Internet of Things or electrophoretic displays, otherwise called e-paper, as examples. For any major technology, there are often some initial discoveries, often in universities. Out of that, some companies emerge, all promising wonderful changes to the world within just a couple of years. To keep the startups funded, they need to create some buzz in the industry, often leaking over into the mass media in things like MIT Technology Review, or IEEE Spectrum. That attracts more interest and money until the expectations for the new technology reach a fever pitch and hype is at its peak. But as time passes, the early customers are not fully satisfied, and some problems usually emerge. That leads to negative press, or worse, being totally ignored. Now the money slows down, and some of the early startups go out of business or consolidate. The next round of funding is harder to find, and the media spotlight, always in search of the next big thing, turns elsewhere. But if the technology has genuine strengths, it will be matched with the right applications and something starts to happen, productivity. The new idea is not the solution to all the world's problems, but if it can solve one of them really well, customers with that need will start to adopt it, and the expectations for the technology climb out of the trough, climb into genuine usefulness. At the tail end of the curve, a plateau is reached, and the hunt is on for the next idea. Now, recognizing the plateau is critical for a business. Here are a few signs that you've hit it. First, the basic requirements are pretty well fixed, and many suppliers are able to meet them. In lots of cases, compatibility requirements limit innovation. Think about the USB standard, or in days past, the 2 megabyte diskette, which had to work in many standardized drives in many computers. In other cases, there are repeated attempts to break out with an innovation, but it doesn't capture mass market. Think about desktop PCs or flat panel TVs today. Granted, we now have Ultra HD TVs being delivered by every major player at about the same time. Yes, the technology is an advance, but the fast replication is further evidence that the industry has reached a plateau. Now, the lesson of the hype cycle is to recognize when expectations are essentially flat and invest very carefully from that point forward.